Okay, we had the chance to review a brand new movie in theaters in the Alamo Drafthouse. So if you live near an Alamo Drafthouse, you can go see it March 22nd, 2024. The movie is Riddle of Fire, feature film debut by writer-director Weston Rizzulli. And Laci, how would you describe what this movie is?
I would say if Stand By Me and Napoleon Dynamite had an adorable baby, this is what you would get.
I said it's kind of a David Lynch story if Wes Anderson directed it.
Okay, yeah.
It's got kind of that, Napoleon Dynamite was obviously kind of inspired by the Wes Anderson aesthetic, but like also the sense of danger of like you're in a David Lynch movie, every suburban door you open, you could see like a witch cult or a eye patch lady or.
Well, what's beautiful about Wes Anderson movies and Napoleon Dynamite and this movie, but they all have in common is that the point of view is so obvious. I'm seeing this world as though I were a kid, even if I'm not, one of the kids isn't in the scene. I think all of it is from the perspective of this is how adults are. If they're mean, there's something magical going on. When they're done with work, they all end up at the same place at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true.
The
world, this world, I like a movie where you're like, I can't tell if this movie takes place on Earth, our Earth, or it's like Earth B where things are just slightly askew. But you could always just say like, but this is how these kids are understanding the world.
My understanding is the entire thing is seen through the eyes of Petal.
Who's Petal?
Well, I can't really tell you. No, it's hard to give a non-spoiler review, so I won't do that. But like, I guess if you go into it thinking of like, this is what it's like when kids are alone and left with their thoughts and have to go on an adventure and take things into their own hands.
Well, the non-spoiler premise is that these three kids steal a video game console and then want to use it.
Is that in the synopsis, sir?
And this is in the first 4 minutes of the movie.
I don't see how that's not spoiling just because it happens.
And they want to go spend the day playing this video game, but their mom has put a password on the TV. And then this leads them on this quest. And it's like this movie is trying to be sort of a throwback to like, oh, remember when you were a kid and you were riding your bike and parents weren't so like up your ass and like monitoring you on your phone and everything and knew where you were at all times. So it's a good idea to be like, yeah, kids now just want to look at their phones and play video games. What can make them have to go outside and engage with the world? Oh, the technology has been taken from them and they want to go on this epic quest merely to get back to their sofa so they can play the video game.
Another really interesting element of this movie that I have never seen in a kid's movie is the option to leave a place really fast. The kind of things you can do if you just have a mode of transportation at your disposal and you're a kid with very little bit of like restraint. Mm-hmm. You don't have a fully developed frontal lobe, so maybe you do some impulsive things.
Yeah.
But if you've also got a dirt bike, maybe you can keep doing some impulsive things.
Yeah. And so these little kids, this epic quest involves them shoplifting, getting into all kinds of mischief. And what I like is that these kids, and this whole thing was filmed and produced in Utah. These kids presumably are local actors there. They look and sound like real kids.
God, do they. Every step of the way.
And like little kids, like real little kids, they're little pieces of shit. They're little bastards.
They're pushing
They're kind of evil, yeah. And I like that. I liked seeing that in the movie. Now, this movie is produced on a tiny budget, but it was a festival darling last year. It premiered at Cannes in this like director spotlight series. It played at TIFF, it played at Fantastic Fest, and now it's at Alamo Drafthouse. But yeah, people like it. I think it's connected with people because it successfully executes this very specific tone of sort of whimsy and danger in a non-annoying way. Like when I read the premise, like, okay, this sounds so cutesy, like, and the opening titles start and there's Celtic folk music playing, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
I will warn, like, get through the first 10 to 15 minutes and it starts cooking. It's just, you just don't know where it's going yet. And you, if you're like me, you guess a bunch of wrong things before you see what actually happens. In terms of like, what is the larger, it's just a lot of hijinks and then you see the rhythm that it's going to take.
How did you feel about how it was directed? Could you see this guy working with a bigger budget? I mean,
oh yeah.
Is it going to appeal to, like, I didn't take away, like, I only like this movie on the level of, like, this is very impressive what this guy could do on this budget. I'd love to see him work with the real budget. It is really engaging on its own.
Yeah.
And we watched it with our 13-year-old who seemed to really connect with it.
We talked about it all the way to school, and they just loved how it understood kids. So being that this director is not a kid himself, he still seems very connected to what that's like and doesn't treat kids like they're dumb, which is what I'm always screaming about. So I'd love, he seems to be good with perspective and seeing things through someone's eyes that are not him.
One of the kids, like, is subtitled the whole time just because.
Perfect.
But it's not like he has a
I can understand
impediment. Yeah, I felt like I could understand him without the subtitles, but the same kid who's 13 now, like, when they were much younger, if other people would hear the kids speak, they'd be like, what? Huh?
Right.
I need subtitles. So, like, oh yeah, some kids are hard to understand.
And that's just super realistic. But before I forget, please, thank you so much for Yellow Veil Productions for giving us an early screener. Made me feel very special. See my name on the screen the entire time I watched the movie. So anyway, thank you for that.
So yeah, it seems like it's a solid recommend. If it's can get a little too cloying and cute for me at times, and I am prejudiced against movies about little babies.
You do hate children.
These kids, and I know that I forgive it because I'm on the whole won over by this movie's charms and impressed, just really impressed by Weston Rizzulli being able to sustain this amount, this very specific heightened magical tone.
Yeah.
And keeping the sense of suspense and danger, but not too much danger.
And the pace, it didn't dip for me. It got better as it went. So if there's going to be a change in pace at all, I rather start off a little figuring it out kind of stuff, and then just get cooking and stay cooking. And the end is satisfying. I really like the ending.
So check it out. Presumably it'll be on VOD in the future.
VOD.
Video on demand.
There you go.